Hello and welcome to the ME7 Podcast, episode 19. Well, the Gills just keep on giving, didn't they? A disaster of a bank holiday weekend as we went up north and come back with absolutely nothing. Tonight, me and Harry and hopefully Reese Hurd is going to be joining us later. He's going to let me know. I'm going to be reviewing the dreadful 1-0 defeat at Carlisle United. I don't think anyone can argue it was dreadful. If anyone has actually seen the goal, I think the Sunday League team that I play for probably defend better in their box over 90 minutes. It was absolutely atrocious. Tonight, we are going to review the Carlisle game. Unfortunately, we're going to have to review it. We have got the small matter of the Papa John's Trophy at Charlton on Wednesday night, and obviously the transfer window is slamming shut in just 3 days' time, and then after that we've got the little matter of those rivals, Swindon Town, coming to Priestfield on Saturday. So we've got lots and lots of review tonight. I'm joined by Harry Kinslow. Harry, good evening, mate. Thank you for joining me. You were one of the lucky 200 to travel north on Saturday. Tell me about it, buddy. Tell me. You must have felt deflated, frustrated, angry coming back to Kent on Saturday night.
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having me on, mate. I mean, like I said to you just before we started, I think it's just be nice to get it off my chest. To be honest, it was just the same old story, really. I think that I felt a little bit better about going to the game after Exeter because we were a lot better against Exeter. I think we were the better. I wouldn't even go as far as saying we were the better side. And it I was already going to Carlisle before the Exeter game. I obviously decided to go up anyway. I think I had a bit more belief, but it just there's no. I can't even put it into words. Really, it just wasn't great, to be honest. Like I say, I think the worst thing for me was that when we went 1-0 down, we just didn't look like getting back in the game at all. I think that's our biggest problem at the moment. I think defensively, I think we were quite decent again. I mean, apart from their goal, I think Morris made a save from a header just after half time. But apart from that, they didn't really test him very much. Like I say, it's annoying because we did do quite well defensively, and we just honestly get to the final third and we've got no chance at the moment. I can't see where the next goal's coming from.
Yeah, obviously. Tell us what time. Tell us what time you left on Saturday, and how was your trip up there, and what was the talks that you were having with the other Gills fans on the train? Was it optimism? Was it kind of this is going to be a bit doom and gloom again? How was you feeling?
Well, I left my house at 5:30 on Saturday morning. And the first thing I saw when I woke up was that our train had been cancelled, so that's always a good start. Probably should have taken the hint, to be fair, but the day just didn't get much better from there. I mean, like I say, we got up to London about just after 7, then obviously made our way over to Euston to get the train up. We then had to get, rather than a 3-hour 45-minute train, it was a 4-hour 45-minute train, so it was really nice, only an hour extra. It's a lot of difference really when you're going that far. It did feel like a lifetime. I mean, I remember looking at my phone and thinking, it's 10 o'clock, so we're not even halfway there. It's just, it was a nightmare, to be fair. And to be fair, I remember, a few of the guys saying to me, I was the same. I think after Exeter, a few of us were quite optimistic. I mean, I wasn't expecting us to go there and win sort of 5-0, but I was thinking, we could get a result here because, Carlisle haven't had the best results this season. I think they've drawn a couple. I think they've only won once and lost once or something like that before the game. So they hadn't had the best start. So it was like after Tuesday, I thought, we could go up and get a result, hopefully snatch a win. I think it was one of them where I looked at it before the game and I thought, normally if we lose and play well, I am normally quite happy. But I think Saturday was one of them. I wouldn't care if he was awful. I think I just wanted to get a result, and obviously that really didn't happen. So
and the thing is, I think I certainly felt confident going into Saturday. Like you say, we'd obviously come off the back of of 2 clean sheets. I know obviously they were both 0-0s, but obviously the penalty shootout win must have given us great confidence as a group. But a lot of the feedback that was coming out Saturday, and you can back this up, Harry, that we were playing good stuff against Carlisle, but as soon as it got into the final third, it just went flat.
Yeah, it was all quite neat in the midfield. Like I say, the game sort of started, and you thought, like I said, you had the players sort of in there. Look on paper, we've got quite a decent team. I think, the actual starting 11. You look at that and you think, especially with Adalukan in the team now, I think, I thought he would add something different, but it just doesn't happen. There's no sort of link between the midfield and the attack at the moment. It's just like none of them seem to be on the same wavelength. I think John, people thinking him to come in, and I was the same. I thought, he could easily get sort of 10, 15 goals, but he just hasn't been on it. He hasn't really offered us much. The ball's pinged up to him, and he doesn't seem to hold it up very well. He's, Green and Adalukan aren't getting very close to him. It's just not clicking, is it? I mean, that's putting it politely. There isn't much going on at all up front.
Yeah. What do you think it is, Harry? Do you think it's inexperience in the group? Do you think it's the fact that we've got the sheer amount of players that have come into the group, where it's 12 or 13 players, or do you think it is just a group of players that is just not good enough?
I really can't put my finger on it myself, to be fair. I think it can't be a coincidence that obviously we had the same struggles last season. And I think we struggled enough scoring last season, and then you go and take some of our best players out of that team, and it's not going to get any better, is it? I mean, I think generally, the attackers, Green's probably been one of our better players this season, but even him on Saturday, he wasn't himself, he wasn't beating players like he normally does. I honestly can't put my finger on it. I think there isn't enough quality in the team, really. But then at the same time, you look at players like Ben Reeves, Ollie Lee. Before the season, I said, they could be great at this level, but we just don't seem to be clicking at all. I think that's putting it nicely, really.
Yeah, and like you say, isn't it? Is that there are quite a few players that have been left from last year, and obviously one of the standout comments that is always going to crop up is obviously that Neil Harris interview that he did after the Rotherham game, that he mentioned about 7 players being under contract, and he went, none of them are going to be here, and they've all ended up being here, the majority of them. And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that when they then also have that relegation on their CV, they've been losing every week. They then have that losing mentality. That's hard to shift, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I say, it can't be a coincidence. It's exactly the same as last season, really. There's not really much more I can say on it, to be fair. I just think the players they do look short of confidence as well. They've got little confidence as it is, and then, like I say, they've got a whole new group. I do still think it could get slightly better, but I can't see how at the moment. I think, a couple of times we've been unlucky. Like Harrogate, first 20 minutes, I thought, we could have been 2 or 3 up. And I thought, this is the game. Wimbledon in the cup, I went up there, and that, again, I remember messaging the group chat after the game and being like, we're playing really well here, boys, and we all decided to go up to Tranmere after that, so that wasn't great. But like I say, I think there's been a few glimpses of it, but I still do think we're just way off the mark attacking wise. I do think we do need a couple of players in, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously you were in that Gills away end on Saturday. What was the reaction of the Gills fans in the away end? What was the comments that were being thrown around?
To be honest, I can't remember. I remember just being so disappointed. It was just same old though. Honestly, it was just like, I think everyone was more just. To be honest, everyone was probably just tired. To be honest, like I say, we'd all been up early, and we just got there. It's just disappointment more than anything. There was the odd bit of abuse, which I probably thought was quite justified, to be fair, because I think you just do talk of frustration when you sort of gone all that way, and then the team, like I said, there was just no fight after we gone 1-0 down. You think, like I said, the first half it was quite an even game. Neither side really had any chances, and you see over social media some people saying we could easily go and win this, and obviously they scored sort of 10 minutes after half time, and then you think even right, hopefully that sort of gives us a kick and sort of we got attack now. We push a bit more. We've got to score to get something out of the game. That just didn't happen. We've had a couple of crosses into the box at Walker's one. Apart from that, you haven't tested the keeper at all. I mean, I think Kashik got in once and had a bad touch. But apart, like I say, there was barely any chances. You did not look like, even with 10, 15 minutes to go. Normally, you think, right, 1-0 down away from home, you're going to throw the kitchen sink it, but we just didn't. The changes. There's only so much you can do. It's very like for like switches. Strikers for strikers. Because Manjon again wasn't on it, so you don't really want to leave him on for the sake of it. But that's where I think that we have to have another striker on the bench, or at least an attacking player, and then you can sort of switch him around. Because the way Manjon's been playing the last few games, I personally wouldn't start him on Saturday. I think he makes us too sort of one-dimensional, and then we don't do enough with that. When he sort of gets the ball pinged up to him, he doesn't seem to hold it up. Anytime he flicks it on, no one's really round him. I would honestly go as far as saying I wouldn't start him on Saturday after the last few performances, because he's almost like he's been non-existent. So I just think we need someone in the next few days. Desperately.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? With Lewis Walker, he seems like the type of player that he really does care, and he is really trying his best in a Gills shirt, but he's almost just not quite good enough.
Yeah, and I think people said before he was signed, people were saying, he's not good enough. He's been playing, I think it was Serie D. He's really, we signed him as a last resort. So at the same time, I wasn't gonna, base my judgment off that. I'm gonna wait for him to play. He had to be fair, the first time he started was Wimbledon the Cup, and within 4 minutes he'd missed a one-on-one opportunity, and then you think, oh, is it what people are saying is going to happen here? But since then, I think, like you say, he's done all right. I mean, like I say, I think in his sort of cameo appearances, especially in the league, I'd go as far as saying he's been more of a threat than Manjon, really. Maybe not sort of towards the goal, but he sort of looks like he's trying to make things happen. He's getting himself a bit about more. The first couple of games, he looked like he was just out of position, really. He sort of did look a bit like headless chicken, but since then he's sort of settled in a bit now, and I think he was, he's very unlucky to not score against Walsall. I think probably could have had a penalty if he'd gone down, but obviously, like you say, he's desperate to score. I think when he gets one, he could get a couple. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to set the world alight, but it's all about confidence, isn't it? Especially when you're sort of coming to a new league.
Yeah. Okay, we've had a few comments in then. Ricky said, I know there's a long way to go yet, but if we don't start sorting out our attacking situation, we're going to be fighting relegation. Harry, do you agree with that? Are we going to be in a relegation battle if we don't add before the window slams shut?
I think to be fair, like I said, if we don't add, I think we don't add to it. Harris is gone. I think he won't last till January if we keep playing the way we are. Definitely not. I mean, and I wouldn't blame him either. And then, like I said to you just before we come on, I think the only hope we've sort of got then is that there's two teams worse than us. But like I said, the first fixtures we've had, sort of on paper, we've had teams that we should be beating. Really, we haven't had any of the sort of favourites that are sort of up there yet. I think the highest team we played so far is 9th, like in the table now. So it's like played no one that's sort of had good early form. It's all been about sort of they've just been better than us on the day, and it's just if it keeps carrying on like that, I can't really see how we're going to pick up many points. To be fair.
Yeah. Dean's thrown a couple of comments in, just saying we need a new forward, which is not good enough. And he just said it's awful currently. And I think Don Ballard, who goes kind of every week for the Gills, made a good comment the other day, basically just saying he's heard a lot of Gills fans just accepting the fact that it's only 1-0 or it's only this score or we can use relegation to kind of bounce back up and things like that. And is that Harry? Is that the way the fan base is going now? Is it just a case of we're just almost accepting the fact that the football club is being run badly, or what do you think it is? Because I think this is probably the worst I've seen the football club in. Well, since I've been supporting the football club probably about 20 years now. And in the 20 years that I've supported them, this is probably the worst state I've seen this football club in. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've been going for sort of 8 years now. I think my first sort of full season, was under Edinburgh when we was obviously top at Christmas and it all crumbled. I think just before Christmas I started going sort of towards the beginning of the season, and obviously that's what got me into it really. That was winning every week. You know, it was on my doorstep and we're winning every week. It was enjoyable to go to, but you know, it's the complete opposite now. I just think it's just not enjoyable to go and watch us anymore. It just isn't like I say, I sort of started going when I was sort of 11, 12 at first. And like I say, it was nice to see a team winning. You know, the atmosphere was pretty good. And it was just, now it's a polar opposite now, you know. But I think it's a whole different matter. I think it's not just on the pitch either. I think there's a lot of things, obviously, which is well documented that we could be doing off the pitch as well. It just seems like you sort of just letting the club sort of do nothing, if that makes sense. We're not sort of progressing. We're not progressing at all. I think that's sort of what I'm trying to get out here. It's just, I can't really see how we don't improve. You know, we were sort of happy to be sort of lying in League One for the last few years of League One. We sort of were happy to be there. I think, you know, obviously, even though Evans come in and then obviously gave us boost up the table. I mean, still, you know, we invested in the squad and everything, but still we couldn't quite get the playoffs. And I think after sort of what happened with Evans halfway through last season, I think I can understand why you didn't want to take the same risk with Harris. But when you get sort of January, you look last season and we didn't improve the squad. And you know, if anything, it got worse, really. I just think we sort of been left to just do nothing, really. I think he was happy with sort of sitting still, you know, no sort of ambition. And I think that's the biggest problem, really.
Yeah. I think you mentioned about off the pitch as well, off the pitch issues and things like that. And I think one thing that did frustrate the Gills fans on Saturday was the fact that Paul Fisher had come out on Twitter, and he's obviously been very, very vocal on his social media since he took control of the football club. But one of the things he did do, his tweet on Saturday probably wasn't the most helpful, was it? He'd obviously said that we played well, and I think Gills fans had just kind of basically just tweeted him back, just saying, "We'd rather you just stay off this and actually just go and sort the squad out." And that's where the fine lines come in, isn't it? Is that it's great that obviously the co-chairman has come in. He's been really, really interactive with the fans. He's communicated with the fans, but it then sometimes almost crosses that line where it becomes unhelpful and starts to annoy people. And that's probably what it did on Saturday, didn't it?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think with Paul Fisher, I mean, I'm never going to, no matter what happens this season, we can't really blame him. I mean, the problems are there before he come in, and they'll probably be there after he sods off as well. So, I mean, I feel people saying, you know, getting unhappy with him tweeting out after the game and stuff. I think I disagree with that, because for years people have said, like, you know, with Scally not being on social media, I respect that he still goes out after the defeat. It's not like, you know, with other people on social media, you think after a loss they don't post, you know, they don't put anything there. It's just, you know, they just sort of go quiet for a few days. And so fair enough to him coming out of the game and sort of having the guts to speak to the fans. But but like you said, I think what he said was a little bit too sort of optimistic. I think he said something about 10 minutes, poor 10 minutes after halftime cost us. And I think I replied to it, what, as a poor 450 minutes of the last 5 games caused us to have bad attacking play, because it just, you know, we haven't scored in 5 games. It's just ridiculous, you know. You can't come out and say 10 minutes has cost us, because if we don't concede there, you know, what do we get then? 0-0. You know, is that really good enough? Not really. You know, considering the last few results, you'd like to think he'd be a bit more sort of optimistic than that. That, you know, even though we've had poor 10 minutes, we'd be able to come back for that. But I think we all know now, like, if we go 1-0 down, I think last season we didn't win from behind. I think we barely got any points from behind as well. I think, you know, you go 1-0 down, it just deflates you now. You know, even sort of the singing, the stand stops. It's a reality now that, you know, we concede, and we know, you know, on the odd occasion we might snatch a point, but realistically we're not doing very well at this game. It's sort of, and I think it goes back to last season as well, where the players sort of were so used to conceding last season, and then, you know, getting pumped or not being able to get back in the game, that now it's still the same story. You know, you concede one, and they don't really know what to do. You know, it's a bit of a problem, as we've said.
Yeah, and obviously Paul Fisher. What was quite interesting as well. We'll move away from Carlisle because it's obviously it's done.
Yeah,
The goal was shocking.
yeah,
I think we both agree with that.
yeah,
But there's bigger problems, isn't there, at the football club currently than just that Carlisle defeat. Obviously, Paul Fisher come out in his interview when he first did his interview with Phil, the media guy, and one of the quotes that he come out and said in that interview was that there is room for budget for Neil Harris so far in terms of we can even go outside that budget if he really, really wants the player. But it suggests to me, but by the comments that Neil Harris has said, that there really isn't, not really a budget that really, because he obviously said about centre half, but I think we all know realistically that we need just more than a centre half. We probably need a centre half. We need another midfielder and we need a forward. Now, those comments by Neil Harris to me suggest that we haven't got that budget there. Now, that's a problem, isn't it, Harry?
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's it's a problem that will cost us the season if we don't sort it out. I mean, I just like you say, we're definitely short of two players at least. I think a centre half and a sort of attacking player slash striker is sort of the least we can ask for. And then, like you say, there's a few positions where you'd even say we're a bit light. I mean, so far from what we've seen at Will Wright at right back, I'm not particularly convinced by him at right back. And then so I think, and Alexander, if you go to a 4 again, he's a bit defensively shaky. Mind you, I have been a bit impressed with him the last few games, but like I say, there is a few positions where you just look at it and you think we could do 3 or 4 players over the whole squad, like you said. But they're just, if there's not a budget for it, what can you do? But then, like you said, going back to Fisher's interview, he said that there is, again, you don't know what happens behind the scenes. Maybe at the time, situations change, but I honestly don't know. With the sort of, like I say, minimum centre half and then a minimum attacking player, but I really can't see it from Harris's recent interviews.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Udall commented saying need a central forward that knows how to score a goal or a centre half. Matt Boyett then basically 2 forwards were a must. Cool. Matt, I don't think you have much confidence in our forwards then. Yeah, and then Anthony also commented that there must be someone that wants to buy the football club, and and then David threw a comment in basically saying Gilligan Neal is our new name. The comments are flying in this evening as well. Ricky also then said we need a spine centre back midfielder and an attacker. Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it, Matt, Harry? It basically seems like that the fans that are commenting and certainly the fan base at the moment that we just don't believe in the squad that's even been built at the moment, do we? That not only is it just 2 signings that we probably need in order to even be competitive in this division. We probably need 3 or 4, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I can't blame anyone, and I'm the same. I've got no faith in the forward line. Like I say, you sort of play 5 sort of nice passes in the midfield, and you try and build the attack up, but it's just nothing. It just goes to nothingness. It's just same old story. Like I say, I think on Saturday we had sort of 2 or 3 shots on target, something like that, and even that was, I think they were just like into the keeper's hands. I just think, I think the players haven't learned the system properly for a start. I think it just seems a bit all over the place as well. I think defensively we're, doing very well. I think offensively, like I say, I think everyone needs to push up a little bit as well. I think it's too disjointed in attack. There's just, you've got Green who, beats players and then doesn't really do much else after that because I think, he's quite inexperienced at this sort of level. So, again, you can't blame him as, personally. I think Mandron's the one I've been most disappointed with because, like I say, he's done all right in League One the last few years for struggling teams. He's got quite a few goals. Not like he's not a proper number 9 as well, I would say, but he's got a handful. Which you think, like I say, coming down to League 2 as well, I thought maybe 10, 15 goals at least, but I can't even see him getting sort of 5 at the moment. He obviously scored a great goal in the cup at Wimbledon, and that was the day I thought, right, from here, he's got 1. Hopefully he goes on from here and has a good season, but it just hasn't happened. I mean, I think he's just got worse and less sort of involved as every game's gone on. Really, just And then Adelucan, I think he's the sort of one. I was quite surprised when we got him in because I think I'm right in saying that he actually was involved in Lincoln's first few games. I think even their fan base were quite shocked that we actually managed to get him in because they actually quite wanted to stay. So again, I was quite optimistic of him coming in, thinking, right, he could get us a few goals and a few assists. But I think they're all just struggling together at this point. I think, none of them can do it on their own, but they don't seem to be sort of gelling very well either. I mean, like I say, I can't remember the last time they sort of linked up well, or it just, like I say, gets to the final third and there's absolutely nothing. I mean, I'd rather, it sounds stupid, but I would rather us be missing sort of 5, 6 clear-cut chances than at the moment, there's just no belief at all in any of the forwards. And it's just, like I say, I hope we can get a little bit of belief, and then we might score a few, but I do still agree with everyone saying there's not enough quality there. There's not enough quality, but it just, like you say, who do we get in? We've left it to the last minute, and is there the budget for it?
That's the thing, isn't it? We've got so many comments flying in this evening. It's really, really good. Keep sending in your comments. It's brilliant. Sam Green basically said, most bizarre signings made this summer. We had to rebuild and we failed. Gutless, pathetic team at present. Yeah, it's been an interesting summer, isn't it? It's that in terms of the players that have been brought in the building, how much of it has Harris? How many of those signings have Harris actually wanted? And in the end, gone, you know what? We can't really afford anyone else. We're going to have to go with these.
Yeah, so going back to your point earlier where he said about sort of the 7 players that were going to be here, the 7 contracted players that weren't going to be at the start of this season. I think, that was, he did speak with his heart on his sleeve that day. I think, realistically, we knew. I think, the few we have kept, I've been happy with sort of Reeves, Lee, O'Keefe. I would have been happy to keep them at League 2 level, and obviously we have done. Obviously, there's a few in there which are a bit sort of, you were like, did he really want to keep them, or was it just sort of like you say there wasn't a budget there? I just think, I don't really know. I can't really describe it because sort of all the signings we've made, they just have been a bit odd. Like there hasn't been a sort of, there's been a couple, like even Mandron, for example. He's sort of probably been one of the sort of biggest names he brought in over the summer because obviously we've had him before. No, he's got a few goals in him, but he's been the biggest disappointment for me. I mean, Green's probably been the one so far, which you think, he's come from sort of, obviously I've heard about his obviously personal problems, and that's why he was playing sort of a lower level last season, because he would rather play with his friends and sort of get back the love of the game rather than sort of struggle in a higher division. But he's been the one that's been most impressive. And then, like I say, just the players we brought in just aren't good enough. That's just the bottom line, really. I mean, like I say, even Green's been the best player, and he was probably the one people expecting to do sort of the least because of where he's come from, sort of thing. Even sort of, Will Wright, I thought would have been a good signing, but he's struggled a lot. In a 5, again, I will say the back 5 last few games has still looked all right. I mean, even at Carlisle, like I said, the defending for the goal was shocking, but generally we was all right. And before the Exeter, they didn't really cause us too many problems. Walsall, I think they had their only shot on target in the 90th minute. The back sort of 5 is doing well, but then it just takes away from the attack. I think we need to have a back 4 of, we either need to work the back 5 out where we've actually used the wing backs as an attacking player because we haven't got enough forwards, or we have to go to a back 4 and sort of risk it. But obviously we've seen in the games before, Tranmere, Wimbledon first game of the season, where it just, we with a 4, we just look like we're going to concede 10. It's just ridiculous. So I think, like you say, he's had a bit of a problem. I think maybe he has been promised a bigger budget than he's actually got in the end. But I really can't. I can't put my finger on it. I mean, no one knows what's happening behind the scenes, do they? I mean, it's just so, it's weird. It's a very weird situation.
Yeah, obviously David Garth was commenting basically saying, "What about Isaac Alofe? He's not even on the Millwall bench, and we need a proven goal scorer." Obviously, he's been one of the players that have been linked with us all summer. He's got that Millwall connection with Neil Harris. He's not gone anywhere. He's not obviously playing regular football at Millwall. He's done it in this league before with Sutton. Surely he is a no-brainer to try and get in the building.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I would definitely take him right now. I think for a start, we can't get any worse. But certainly, you can't add to that and having a worse attack than we've got at the moment. I mean, 1 goal in 6 league games. Like I say, you can throw anyone up front and hopefully do better than that. But I think, like you say, I saw that. I think at the start of the season, the manager Mill said that he wanted to keep him in sort of around the first team, keep him at the club. But like you say, I think he's been playing for the reserve. I think he scored the other day for the reserve. So maybe their plans have changed, and hopefully they have, and we can try and get him in. Like I say, I'd like to think Mill will trust Harris with a few of their youngsters after what he did there. So yeah, definitely, I think it's a no-brainer.
It's weird though, because obviously I was at the Folkestone friendly, and I was chatting to Harris for about 15, 20 minutes, and we obviously we did actually speak about the podcast, and he said to me, he said, look, he said one bit of information I can tell you to put on your podcast is that we are in for Paul McCallum, and the legs of the deal has got legs. It's just the agents being a bit of a bugger. But that suggests to me that the targets that he wanted all summer, he's not going to got. And he's mentioned that in his interviews, isn't he? Is that they've gone and got cold feet. He's gone and got cold feet. Sometimes the agents have not been happy with whatever it is, but it is something's wrong, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, we are a former championship club that obviously have been in the championship. We were in the championship for 5 years. We've got a manager that's managed in the championship that wants to get us back and has mentioned that we are a project and he wants to be a part of the project. Why would footballers that have not got a club, not getting regular football, not want to come and play for Neil Harris? It doesn't make any sort of sense unless really the money is well apart from what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think, with the money, it's got to be something to do with money to start with. You've got clubs. I think Aaron Pierre has been heavily linked with Sutton today, hasn't he? And he was one we've linked with all summer, and that's one where you look at. He's had a club for so long. He hasn't had a club, but then you look at people going, oh, why would he want to join Sutton over Gillingham? Looking at generally how big the names are, if that makes sense. But you look at our first sort of, like I say, first 6 games in the league. Who would want to join us at the moment? I think the results haven't helped at all. I think if you get a couple of wins on the board, pick players might come in and think, right, you've got something to build on here. But at the moment, it's just, like I say, we just got no direction. It just, apart from down.
Yeah.
So
this is an interesting comment, Harry. This is an interesting comment. Matt sent in a comment saying, got to look at Harris as well, in my opinion. He obviously walked down the tunnel without applauding the 200 odd fans at Carlisle. And look, he must be frustrated more than anyone in that building at the moment, is that he is effectively running that team with one hand behind his back. And I think a lot of the Gills fans are of the opinion that it is certainly not Neil Harris's fault. But have we got to, because the players at the moment are taking full responsibility for the performances that they are dishing out on a week-to-week basis currently in the season. Has Neil Harris got any sort of responsibility in this whatsoever, or is he almost playing with the cards that he's been dished?
I think it's a bit of both, really. I mean, I don't think you can ever have that sort of many bad results at the start of the season and, say the manager's, done nothing wrong. I do think, like Saturday, like I said, his changes were a bit sort of generic, but then again, he hasn't really got much, like you say, he hasn't got many cards to play with, so it is difficult. But at the same time, I think you can't Harris can't have no blame whatsoever, but at the same time, it is, I can't sort of put my finger on why it's sort of going so wrong, because apart from the players, I will say the players haven't got enough quality really. But on Carlisle, which was very unlike a Neil Harris team, is we didn't really try very hard. I'll be honest. It felt like, say, we went one down, and normally, you try and sort of fight for every ball, get the equaliser, but it just wasn't happening at all. From any of the players really. I mean, I can't say one player come from much credit from that game at all. I think that was the biggest concern about Saturday. I think, like I say, Walsall obviously had been on a half decent run themselves. Got a point against them, and you look at it and you think, right, that's a decent point. I thought at the time, it's a bit concerning we haven't scored again, but generally it's not bad. Extra, then we got better still and sort of played we were the better side. But then it goes completely downhill to Carlisle, and we pretty much didn't show up. And that is my biggest concern, is Harris sort of losing a bit of sort of face with the players now, where you think like you said before, people want to play under Neil Harris. Don't be wrong, because of the level he's been at, but is he sort of, the players are sitting there like losing every week. No one can sort of win from the situation, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, his comments keep come flying in and in. This is brilliant this evening. It's exactly what we want. Obviously, we don't want to say. Yeah, we don't want to be talking. We don't want to be talking about the bad things. But one of the reasons why we run this platform, the ME7 Podcast, is to give the Gills fans a voice. Yeah. And tonight everyone is. So it's brilliant. Christopher Ebleton as said in the comments, saying no new faces will come in before the deadline. We are kidding ourselves. Carlisle was awful Saturday. I'm going to run through these before I throw back another question to you, because there's quite a lot. Then Christopher said again, out of contract players and freebies that no other club wants. It's never going to work. Football has moved on, but Gillingham FC hasn't. It's so sad from a season ticket holder. We are going to go on to a new topic in a minute about the long-term future of the football club. Steve Baker sent in another comment saying, man at the top won't play for the players. Simple as that. Kevin Aldworth basically said, another problem is Scally doesn't pay agents fees. That's why a lot of players we are linked with go elsewhere, because the players' agents end up getting a fee, something they haven't really got over the past few seasons from the Gills. I think we all know that Scally and agents' relationships are basically non-existent. Here's a fact for you from David Garth, and this is a serious worrying fact. Here's a fact for you, 29th of July, the last time fans at Priestfield saw Gillingham score more than one goal in a game. We lost that game 7-2 under the interim manager, Steve Lovell. The previous time we scored twice in a home game, 21st of August, 2021 v Morecambe. That is seriously, seriously worrying. And the last comment is Glenn Moore said, Neil Harris criticised Evans for his recruitment and said it would be better this year. Is that the case? I think all Gills fans can agree that this year's recruitment has been probably one of the worst we've actually seen in the history of the football club. It has been absolutely abysmal. Whether that's actually Neil Harris's fault remains to be seen. I think we'll go back to, let's see the comment from Christopher, which actually links probably nicely to our next topic, Harry. That says, out of the contract players and freebies that no other club want, it's not going to work. Football has moved on, but Gillingham FC hasn't. It's so sad from a season to older. And Harry, the football club hasn't moved on, has it? And that's the problem, isn't it? Is that the way football is going now, regardless of whether we like it or not, football is a customer business game. It's very much money is thrown at it. You have to build the structure of the football club, both as a business and as a football team. If you don't get the venue right, if you don't get food right, if you don't get entertainment right, normal match day experience right, and then if you then tie that in with having a good football team, the fans won't come. And the problem is that then the fans don't come, you then lose revenue. And if you don't gain revenue, you can't build a good football team. And that's the problem. You end up almost, you end up in a bit of an out of control spiral. Are we in danger of, and this is a serious question now, are we in danger of dropping out of the Football League and no longer being the only Football League side in Kent?
As I said earlier, I think this season, I do just think there will be two teams worse than us. I mean, it might be a hopeful thought more than anything, but I do think there will be two teams worse than us. Sort of long-term, next sort of 5 years, I mean, I can't see us going up. I mean, if it carries on, unless something majorly changes at the club, we're definitely not going to go back up. So then you're always at the risk of, if the other teams are improving, you look at the strength of League Two this year. 5 years ago, League Two wasn't as strong as it is now. And if it keeps going, eventually we will just keep dropping down the pecking order and we will become a worse sort of side in the league. So I think realistically, it's not completely out of the woods to say that we could possibly go to non-league in sort of the next couple of years, even possibly even the next year. But obviously, like I say, I do hope that there's two teams worse. Realistically, like I say, I don't know. I honestly can't. I can't see a way out of this at the moment. Like I said, the team gets worse every season. At the moment, obviously off the field, we just seem to care less and less every season. We're getting rid of less things sort of around the club. I mean, even little things like sort of the halftime penalty shootouts used to happen for the local schools. Like, the fans were entertained by that. Even like it might be useful to have now because we might actually see the ball at the back of the net a few times. So, but it's just little things like that. And even like you said about the food last season, generally I don't buy food in the ground anyway because I think it's vastly overpriced at every ground in the country. But even if on the odd occasion, of course I would. But I remember last season I went down to get something about 20 minutes into the game, and they didn't have any hot food. And it was a Saturday, and I think I had to get a pack of Haribos in the end. It's like it's things like the little things like that, and you just think like, does Scally really care anymore? And obviously I get that he's gone away on his sort of break, but is that sort of obviously you never know what's going on behind the scenes. So, but I do just think is that a way of him escaping because he knows he doesn't care anymore, but he knows we are only going to go downwards himself, and he just sort of wants to get out of the firing line really. And I think a lot of Gills fans have that opinion as well at the moment.
Yeah, I think I was walking out the ground away from the first day of the season against Wimbledon, and the thought coming into my head, and I still stick by it. I think at this current moment, we are reminiscent and reminding of Southend United from last year, where the chairman isn't willing to change. He's not willing to listen to supporters. He's not willing to put money into the playing side. He's not willing to put money into the stadium. But then when the fans challenge him on it, he's not taking any ownership. And it is a sheer comparison of the Gills at the moment is that every single little thing that happened to Southend last year in League Two, or the year before, I can't remember when it was, is happening to Gillingham right now. And that is the problem, is that Southend were on the brink of the playoffs 3 or 4 years ago. It happened to Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient got to the League One player final. 18 months later, they were in the conference. And if you don't get things right, you will quickly end up falling rapidly. We've seen big clubs in the conference in the last few years that have ended up getting themselves out of it, i.e. Chesterfield, Luton, Leyton Orient, Grimsby, Mansfield, Southend now. You can probably just keep on rolling. And some Gills fan, I read the comment. Oldham, another one. Ricky just mentioned Oldham. Oldham exactly. Poor mismanagement off the pitch can end up seeing clubs spiraling out of control. And someone said, so I read a comment the other day on one of the Facebook forums, and they said, "But we're too big to go down." But are we? Are we too big to go out of the Football League? And I don't think we are. The problem is that the attendances are falling. The fan base has stopped caring. The directors and the chairman's gone. He's taken an extended break. He doesn't care enough. There is no sort of communication out to fans. They can't even get the ticketing right. They can't even get the food places right. They cannot even get the factory right. They've not backed one of the best EFL managers in the league to even get it right. What suggests that us as a fan base, that football club right now gives a damn about Gillingham Football Club? And that is the problem, is that we are spending our hard-earned money that, by the way, some of my friends paid season tickets during lockdown and still haven't got the money back from Gillingham at the moment. And that is the problem, is that they don't care enough about the fans. The football club as a whole off the pitch doesn't care enough about the team, doesn't care enough about Neil Harris. And after Neil Harris walks away, I would love to know a better manager that's going to come in with those squad of players and try and keep them up. Because if Neil Harris is to walk out tomorrow morning and say, "I'm done," Gillingham Football Club are out of League Two come May 2023. I am confident of that. And that is the problem, is that we are potentially 7 to 8 months away of being in the same league as Maidstone United next season. And I think Gills fans need to wake up and realise, and the football club, if the football club care enough, they will quickly wake up and realise that we are staring conference football straight in the face. Steve Baker has commented, basically saying we are too big to go down. It's complacency that has put us into the position, along with an owner that doesn't fund the club at all. And that is the problem, isn't it? Is that it's been years and years and years of just complete mismanagement by everyone at that football club. And I think the biggest frustration, Harry, isn't it, is that not one person has come out and said, you know what, it's our fault. It's my fault.
Yeah, definitely. I think so the biggest thing for me is, fair enough if Scally's having these problems that he says he's having and all sorts. So, we all have times like that and sort of thing. We all have difficult times. But then to walk away from where it's struggling, it's not going to get any better because you've walked away. You're the sort of top of the club, and you're walking away. How do you think that's going to improve the situation? Obviously, it improves the situation from the short term because he hasn't got the fans shouting at him every week. But for the general football club, it's not going to improve us. It can't be easy for Paul Fisher because as much as he might be a co-chairman, he hasn't been at the club before. He sort of doesn't know, as in like recently, he doesn't know the sort of how much we've spent so far. I think obviously he would do now, but what I mean is he wouldn't have known what Harris was promised at the start. So it's sort of now halfway through the transfer window almost. You've changed from one sort of man with ideas to another man with ideas, and it's sort of clicking them together. It's not really. It's difficult when the man who's not there is the one with the money. So, I think that's the problem. I think Scally's the only one that can sort of agree to spend his own money, which is fair enough. But then he needs to sort of be here to do it. So I think that's sort of the biggest problem at the moment. So.
Yeah. Sorry, we've all been doom and gloom tonight. We can't dress it up other than it normally is, or other than it is. And that's the problem. David Garth has commented basically saying the club is in a mess. It's a minor point, but the fact they've not even refilled the soap dispensers in the main stand shows the total neglect within our club. And like you said, Harry, wasn't it? Is that it is the little things that the fans notice. It isn't the fact that they can offer discounts and offer this and offer that and all look pretty on Twitter and upload these videos and upload those videos and things like that. It's the fact of the matter is that just show a careness for the football club. And the problem is there isn't any sort of careness for the football club. It's all well and good being told that. We'll prove it. Prove it to us. Actions mean louder than words. And there is no actions at the moment. Obviously, you're debating for some reason to go to the Papa John's Trophy on Wednesday night. Believe it or not, fans, we have got a game on Wednesday night. We've got Charlton Athletic in the Papa John's Trophy. I know a lot of us really don't give a damn about it as a fan base, but for people like Alex McDonald that probably need a good few minutes and players that need to come in and prove themselves and probably just a few players that need to build up relationships as it's been told to us by Will Wright and Harris. They both mentioned about building relationships. Wednesday might be quite a good one.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just glorified friendly, isn't it? Really, in my eyes.
Do as a football club, we need to be taking it any sort of seriously, or is it just sheer amount in the legs?
Yeah, I don't think there'd be one Gills fan that would be bothered if we went at the group stage. I mean, I think we're used to it now. We don't ever really care about it, do we? And like I say, I see him as sort of, like you say, time to get minutes in the legs. Because it's still going to be a good standard, really. I'm sure Charlton only put up their sort of second string side, but they're still a good standard. So give the players a chance to test themselves, and hopefully they sort of get ready for Saturday then. But
yeah, we do move on to Saturday. Let's skip over that one. We do move on to Saturday, and it doesn't come any easier really than Swindon Town. I think obviously at the moment they're not. Where are they in the league? Let's have a little look.
I don't think they're doing very well, particularly. Are they?
No, they're not. They're 17th. They're above us though, which isn't difficult at the moment. Look, it doesn't come any sort of easier because it becomes almost that emotional attachment for Gillingham fans, doesn't it? Because obviously things are not going right at the moment off the pitch. Things are also not going right on the pitch, and the last thing you then want to give to Gills fans is a tasty little rivalry that's going to come our way in the form of Swindon Town. Now, the problem is if things start going wrong on Saturday on the pitch, can we start maybe seeing it a little bit of spoiling over in the stands where the fans get a little bit more irate than maybe they usually might because it is that emotion attached to it?
I mean, definitely, and I think it'll be deservedly as well. I mean, I know I keep mentioning it, but back to Carlisle where you said about, I think I remember O'Keefe clapping the fans, but there weren't many others. But I just stood in the front row and I just shook my head. I mean, and I think a lot of people are going to do the same now. Like, I'll always happily clap the players after they've sort of put in a good performance, but it's getting to the point now where you have to think it's gone past performances. How many decent game 0-0s can we sort of take before you have to think, right? You do have to start picking up wins. And I think, like you say, Saturday, if we concede early, I mean, I think a big part of it will be the next few days in the window as well. I think, to be honest, even if we sort of start well on Saturday, I say start well, sort of before the game, I think if we don't sign anyone or maybe only sign one or two in the next few days, which aren't particularly good standard, I think it will already be a bit of tension in the stands because people will worry what's going to happen with the game. Hopefully sort of a good start will set us sort of on our way. But at the same time, like I said, Harrogate, we started well, and what did that do us in the end? So I do think it'll be quite nervy. Like I said, they haven't got much confidence themselves. I think McCurdy's suspended for them, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's probably their best player. So that's sort of a positive for us if there is any. So I do as much as, like you say, I think that could be the sort of game where it sort of makes or breaks the squad for this season. I think because if we end up losing Saturday, I think there's only going to be boos around the ground, which would probably be deservedly so. But I think if we sort of, put 100% in all the challenges, the players show up for it, and we sort of snatch a win or play well and get a big win, whatever we do. I think if we get a positive result, then I think it could hopefully sort of turn the season around because I think on the pitch, the player, like I said, going back to confidence, I think that's the most confidence you're going to get in a sort of a match that the fans care about. You need to show up that game. If you don't show up, then you're screwed, really, isn't you? So I think that's sort of the biggest thing we can get from Saturday is hopefully the fans appreciate the players because they played well, and that sort of hopefully will give us a kick on because there isn't much quality there. So hopefully the sort of push of a sort of rivalry will push us over the line, if that makes sense, sort of make up for the lack of quality sort of in the stands. The fans will push the players, but the players have got to show that first on the pitch that they are willing to do that sort of.
Yeah, okay. That's it for this evening. It's been 53 minutes of pure passion, pure spoken from the heart, and the comments that have been flying in have been excellent. We don't mean to be down in the dumps, but I think we react like this because we care. Let's hope that we obviously get a positive result on Wednesday. We never like to see losing the games, regardless of what the competition is. Winning builds momentum during the squad, doesn't it? It's been an absolute brilliant show tonight. Harry, thank you so much for coming on. You've been an outstanding guest this evening. Thank you very, very much. Let's hope we have a positive week. Let's hope we can add a couple more players before that window slams shut, and let's hope come Saturday at 5:00 we've added a couple of players, we've got 3 points, and we all love the Gills again. Because football can be a funny old game in a week, can't it? You've been watching the ME7 Podcast tonight, episode 19. As always, up the Gills. Good night.